Hello, and welcome to Begin Together, a podcast for couples who are healing from infidelity and other forms of deceptive sexuality trauma. I am your host, Janae Lindsay, and I've just been thinking this morning about a question really for anyone, but specifically if you've been on this road with deceptive sexuality trauma, and if you've ever had the thought, I would do anything that it takes to heal. I just want to know what that thing is. That's a sentiment that I will often hear from betraying partners. Like, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do anything that it takes for this to heal and to get better. And I think this is actually something that is pretty human nature for a lot of people. We can have this idea about ourselves that we would do whatever it took to reach whatever our desired outcome is if we maybe just had the information. Um, Sometimes we read books because we think, okay, if I read this book or you're here listening to a podcast, like if I have the information, then that will change my behavior. And I think that those moments actually do exist. And I think there's a whole, Gretchen Rubin talks about like a whole population of people who are questioners, meaning as soon as something makes sense to them, they're able to change a habit, which is pretty cool because in my professional experience and personal experience, it takes a lot more than just those like lightning bolt moments typically to actually change behavior. But those lightning bolt moments do exist and they do happen when you have a massive moment of insight and clarity, and the behavior can change in and of itself. But more than not, there is a behavioral change grind, and it takes some very real, high, and intentional effort. So I've had this thought on my mind because the information is out there for most people, specifically when it comes to healing from infidelity or other forms of deceptive sexual behaviors. There's a lot of information, and there's a lot of accurate information actually readily available at all of our fingertips as far as how to heal from this. We're not guessing. There's not, of course, this one size fits all and this super like, this is the map and here's the how-tos and you do all of these things and like, ta-da. But there are research-based information and data out there that can really serve as a very clear and instructive guide. And there's not only that, we have more accurate language that we're using as far as treatment and diagnosis. And yes, I'm sure 5 years from now, 10 years from now, there will be other things that are like, gosh, this would have been super helpful, or something. But the formula for healing from deceptive sexuality trauma, as far as specifically the betraying partner goes, really is living with integrity, like striving to live with that integrity. It's humility, it's willingness, it's accountability. And those things are easier said than done, but they're so pivotal. And I think everything kind of falls into those. Like when you have the humility, accountability, willingness, and then you're going and having a conversation with your spouse, the way that you show up in that conversation, if I'm approaching with willingness and humility, my armor is off. My defenses are down, and I am likely able to come from a place of accountability and practice the empathy and all of those other pieces, right? But when we can work on some of those behavioral traits, which of course have to be able to happen after stopping the behavior, like we've got to get some sobriety or ceasing the behavior in and of itself. Anyway, my point is we're not actually guessing a lot when it comes to how to heal. So when somebody says, and they're coming to the table with humility and that willingness, they are saying essentially, yes, I am willing, ready, and I don't know if I'm totally able yet, but I am willing to try and do everything that it takes for me to heal individually and for me to pour in whatever I can into the relationship. Sometimes there is a little bit of a sweet spot for that humble, soft heart. And I notice it a lot immediately after discovery. It's harder to maintain that when somebody has been in treatment for a long time. The natural human things can come up and like, why aren't we better yet? Why am I not better yet? All of the doubts and the pain and the frustration. And the reality is, this has been a behavior that has developed over years and years and years. Often like those drops of water on a rock that Dr. Manuela talks about that has shaped a big part of who we are, how we've acted. And that unlearning, undoing, and then learning new behaviors and becoming is hard. It takes a lot of work. There's this dialectical behavioral therapy skill they talk about, willingness versus willfulness. I love it so much. Even just those two words, and you can think about, maybe what those words actually mean to you and for you. But to me, I think about it as like soft, open, willing heart versus willful, my way or the highway, resistant, hard heart. And that's part of why I think it's so important actually to do a little check-in. How is my heart right now? What is the condition of my heart? Is it hard? Is it soft? Is it willing? Is it willful? In DBT, they talk about willfulness actually as like the acceptance of your reality, and willfulness as like a resistance to your reality, which is interesting. And of course, when it comes to trauma from sexual betrayal and these really heavy, painful realities, we're going to have willfulness actually show up, probably on both ends. Most of us are going to have some high resistance that this is our reality. Anyway, I think about this with anything that we want to change, and this narrative that we might want to tell ourselves or might want to be able to believe that, like, okay, if I have the clear path, or if I just knew exactly what to do, then I would do it. I don't know how many of you have had moments in life when it comes to other pivotal decisions, even of like, I just want to know what the right answer is, and then I'll do it. I'll do whatever it is. I'll do whatever the thing is. I think probably most of us have had that. And we think that it would be easier if the answer just fell from the sky, and then we were just going to accept whatever that path was. And I know some of us have probably had those moments where the answer does fall from the sky. And maybe you're a person who receives that really gratefully. Maybe you're a person who's like resistant to it because you didn't actually like the answer that you got, the answer that fell from the sky, right? But more often than not, I think we so typically have to wrestle with our own decisions, having choice, figuring out the direction that we're headed and what we really want and need. And that's hard. And also, the growth comes in the wrestle. So, this idea of, oh, if I just knew exactly what to do, or if somebody would just tell me what to do, um, or this like, I would do anything to fix this or get this outcome. That's an amazing attitude. I would do anything to get this thing that matters so much to me. And also, in reality and in practice, it so often does not actually look like that. I think a really easy example for, many of us would be um, knowing exactly what to do as far as like the food that you're putting into your body, knowing the nutrients that our body needs to be healthy and strong. And yet, how often does our own willfulness come up with that? And most of us, I know, of course, not everybody has a perfect idea of like what would be nutrient and good for their body, but most of us have an idea this would be nutritious and good for my body. And we're holding that up against like, and this is more delicious. So what do I want to pick, right? And we grow every single time we are willing to surrender our human impulses to something that is better for us and ultimately something that brings us happier, healthier life, like big picture, right? Yes, with food, although we all love a donut anyway. Think about this though with these big things and what happens when we are faced with two choices and over again, we choose the harder, right? Like the harder hiking path over the easier superhighway that gets us faster, but we just sat in a car the whole time rather than like grew all of these, new skills in hiking through the treacherous forest or something, and the muscles that you gain through that and the experiences that you develop and the personal growth. So there's so much that gets to happen with every choice we have. I so often think about like every choice is an opportunity actually to demonstrate either my willingness or my willfulness, specifically when it comes to healing from deceptive sexuality trauma. What does it look like to take the willing path? How's my heart? Again, how can I soften that and show up and stay consistent? And it's so hard. And this is why I think on our own, most of us have a lot more of the willfulness part come up. This is why we need things like group and support, like safe people that we can turn to. And not just anybody, but a person who also sees you in your highest self and maybe challenges you appropriately to become the person that they also know and believe that you have the potential to become. Not somebody who's going to like double down on your willfulness and make you feel like you're so justified and so entitled to whatever behavior you're engaging in, right? But somebody who actually cares about you enough to see you become the person that you have the capacity to be. A lot of times with the willingness, willfulness conversation, I think it's also important to recognize and name like ability here. Because, for example, somebody could be really willing to, let's use pornography, to quit pornography. And maybe they actually are at a level of behavior that is sexual addiction level. And that's like their ability is not there yet to just be like, I'm going to stop and quit right now because I'm choosing to. Um, they need some more external support, structure, resources in order to increase their capability. Somebody's willingness can be there and their ability is not, and we have to figure out ways to increase their ability. That's again with anything, any behavior that we're trying to change. I might be so willing. Maybe I'm really willing to learn a new skill. I'm really willing to learn the piano or something. My ability is not there. I need a teacher. I need I need structure. I need accountability to make sure that I actually practice. I need to set aside time where I'm doing this work to be able to grow and develop. I need to have, certain piano pieces or something that I'm working on. I need to do little exercises with my hands, that aren't as fun as playing the actual pieces, but they are all important. If your willingness is there, but your ability is not, you potentially might also just need a little more structure to be able to get some help and support. Sometimes people are super able, they could stop or change a behavior and very quickly if they wanted to, and they're just not willing. And they're experiencing that willfulness. And that's why I so obsessively talk about this as a principle. And it's also something that I really look for closely with the people that I get to work with of like, how willing are you right now? And do your actions match the words that are coming out of your mouth? Because a lot of people say that they are willing to do all the things, but then you press up against something that they feel resistance to, and the defenses are high, right? Like the defenses are high and the ego has taken over, and it's okay. Like it's okay to have defenses. Defenses are normal and to be expected, and we welcome them. And also, we have to recognize them and know when they are serving us and when they are not. One other thing that I want to touch on, because I've been thinking about this a lot this week, is just this idea of our brain being able to learn something instantly and our body taking a longer time to catch up. So our brain learns instantly, our body learns through experiences and practice over time. Right. I know we talked about the exception of those like lightning bolt moments where you have a superhuman change because of some like strike of inspiration or something. That's amazing. And also, for a lot of us, it can even be a mix. We can have those moments of clarity and knowing what our next steps are. And then we can sort of lose that clarity and we're like, okay, now I just have to grind through this choice that I'm making that I know is good for me, that I know will serve my relationships, that I know will help me become my best version of myself and my most like at peace version of myself. And that is hard. But yes, this idea that our body often takes a lot longer to catch up than our mind does because those two things learn differently. I fully acknowledge that that is an annoying reality, that those two things learn very differently. It also gives us an opportunity to invite in some self-compassion and gentleness of like, okay, body, you're taking a little longer to figure out what my brain knows or what my brain is learning. And that's okay. Or I have some doubts about this and that's okay. Like sometimes our brains, of course, like do need that knowledge and new information so we even can create a path to go down and to know that we're headed in the right direction. So the combination of information and action really helps facilitate more permanent, more lasting change, growth, peace, all of it. Um, I hope that's helpful. Willfulness versus willingness. I love it. I love thinking about it. Um, Let me know if that, was helpful for you. I'm so grateful for each of you tuning in and listening. And it's not lost on me that this is, 20 minutes of your day that you just spent with me. And I appreciate that. And even though this is that like top down kind of learning, like this is the information piece only, my hope is that you can also feel some of those things, like some of the truths that we're chatting about, and that you'll find your own individual ways to apply them as they fit for you or for your relationship. Take care of yourself. Thank you again. And come find me on Instagram if you want to connect. If you have any feedback or questions or things that you would like covered by the podcast, my Instagram is at Couch Talkers. I will see you in our next episode.